the central warning panel will illuminate. When the test buttons are released, all warnings will extinguish. The air conditioning bay overheat warning should be tested by pressing and holding the rear bay high temperature button on the ground test panel. Rear bay high temperature on the air conditioning panel and the air conditioning annunciator on the central warning panel will illuminate. A pylon overheat warning indicates a temperature above 195 degrees Celsius in pylon zone 1. It may be possible to isolate the leak by closing the relevant engine air valve. If auto throttle is in use, it should be disconnected to allow the relevant thrust lever to be retarded to idle. If pylon overheat extinguishes, engine operation may be continued, but use of thrust should be restricted to prevent the warning recurring. If pylon overheat remains lit, the leak must be upstream of the engine air valve and the engine must be shut down by selecting the relevant thrust lever to fuel off. Following an overtemperature in either the left or right zones, both engine air valves on the relevant side and the APU valve, if selected open, will close automatically. If wing and tail anti-ice is selected on at the time of the failure, both wing anti-ice valves and the tail anti-ice valve on the relevant side will close. Following a left or right zone high temperature warning, both the engine air switches on the relevant side and APU air should be selected off. Due to the loss of ice protection on the affected wing, icing conditions should be avoided or left as soon as possible. Asymmetric airframe icing must be minimized. Tail high temperature. An over-temperature in the tail section will illuminate tail high temperature. Both tail anti-ice valves will close automatically. Tail anti-ice should be selected off to extinguish the tail valve NIPS indication. If tail high temperature remains lit, air is still leaking into the tail area. In order to isolate the leak, engine air 1 and engine air 2 should be switched off. If the warning remains lit, they should be switched back on. And engine air 3 and engine air 4 should be switched off. Congratulations! You have now completed this module.